Let us update our tier list. So, because we haven't done any sort of tier list content in a while, so I haven't gone over and updated properly the tier list in a while because I felt like doing it for every patch was a bit much. Now it's been like 3 or 4 patches since I last did a tier list, I believe. So say hello to YouTube if you guys want to. Hi YouTube! So first of all, this will also be trying to kind of cover for next patch. There is very little changing with ADC. The biggest thing is Blade of the Ruined King is getting nerfed, and D-Blade is getting nerfed, and Lucian is getting kind of buffed for bot lane, and Senna is getting nerfed as an ADC, but buffed as a support. So I'll take that into account. So hopefully this tier list will be accurate for next patch as well, because I'll take all the changes into account, and I don't think much should change overall. I think Twitch right now is going to be a little bit weaker next patch and is not already doing that great. I think he's B tier. I think also with the Bork nerf. I think this Bork nerf is, to be honest, kind of undeserved because it's a nerf. Every single champion that builds Bork in bot lane is not strong. Only champions that are strong building Bork are in mid lane. So it feels kind of weird that a lot of champions in bot lane are being nerfed indirectly because of other champions building their item. And for example, for Twitch, I don't think he has a great other first item other than Bork. So it's hard. It's not like he can just go Kraken, but I mean, he could, I guess, but it doesn't like sound that great, right? So for me, Twitch not doing the greatest right now. I've seen Ratarel also begging for buffs on Twitter. I think 80 Twitch could definitely use some lovin'. We got Karthus. Karthus, I think, falls into A tier. Probably the strongest mage bot lane alongside Hui. We can do both of them at the same time. Still good Blackfire Torch users. Still have a pretty good laning phase. Yeah, overall, still pretty solid. Solid champions in bot lane. Definitely, in my opinion, the best out of the mages. To be honest, unironically, I feel like all the mages, let's just do all the mages in one shot because they're like, who the fuck cares about mages? I feel like all these mages are A tier. All these mages are A tier. And then Seraphine's like C tier. Maybe she's B tier. Maybe she's B tier, to be honest. She's not that bad. She's not that bad. But she's not that good either. I think B tier. I think B tier. And then we got Xayah. Xayah, I think, is really, like, if you have the perfect draft for Xayah, Xayah is here or here. She's really OP. What is the perfect draft for Xayah? Xayah really likes to play against, like, full dive comps. So this is champions like Camille, like Yasuo, like Diana, like, I don't know, even Rek'Sai, Sejuani. These champions that are melee and jumping on top of you. Xayah loves to play against these champions because her feathers just counter them so hard, and her ulti is a great self-healing tool. In a lot of cases, you're not going to be able to see the whole enemy draft, and if Xayah is playing against legit any of these champions in A, she struggles a lot. She struggles a lot. So for me, I think Xayah falls like in A tier, even high B tier, low A tier, somewhere in between there. Because on average, you're going to pretty much have like an okay Xayah game, but it's not going to be a crazy Xayah game. But if you are ending up in a solo queue game where you don't pick ADC early and you get to see 3 or 4 enemy champions and you see that it's a good Xayah game, bro, that champion is so strong. But a lot of the cases, at least for me, I'm picking ADC after only having seen 1 or 2 champions from the enemy team. So I can't really just pick Xayah because I don't know if they're going to pick champions that are going to be making a great Xayah game. So a lot of the time I end up not playing this champ. Then we have Ashe. Ashe, I think, is still really OP, has a crazy good laning phase, has just no real counters in lane, scales fine, has good setup for her team, and overall just really strong champ. Draven, I also think he's still S tier. I haven't been playing him at all recently, but that's more because he's permaban against me in competitive, so I don't really feel the need to practice him. I also just don't enjoy playing him that much right now, because whenever I pick him, I don't know what happens, but my support becomes the worst player of all time, and then playing Draven with a noob support is just so frustrating, because you know how capable Draven is of snowballing, but when your support sucks, it's just so difficult to snowball. It's so difficult to snowball. Like 1v2ing as a lane bully, it's possible, but it's just so like frustrating gameplay. Then we have Yasuo. Yasuo is high A tier. This champion, maybe it's even S tier, to be honest. Maybe I'm going a bit crazy. But this champion, I feel like they overbuffed it. It wasn't even weak, I felt like, and they gave it pretty big buffs. They gave it armor, more E damage. Think about Yasuo and Yon right now. Fucking OP. I don't like it. I don't think I can put it S tier. Then we got Kaisa. Kaisa S or A? Kaisa S or A? I think maybe S, honestly. The winner isn't that insane, though. I think high A tier. That make me put Kaisa a little bit lower. She struggles a bit into Ashe. She struggles into Draven. You preferably want to go AP. So if your team is too heavy AP, you have to go AD, which I think is not that good. Also, you really need to play with an engaged support to have a good laning phase. It's like the A+. I mean, S. S, fine, S, low S tier, low S tier. And then Jhin. Jhin is also S tier. Bro, this Jhin champ, I don't know what it is, but look at Jin's winner. Just, okay, before you come at me and you're like, why is Jhin so strong? First of all, #1 ranked ADC right now is Jhin. And then if you actually delve into the statistics, if you build statistic Shiv, first item, you have an even higher chance of winning the game. This Jhin champ, just don't go collector, go static or IE first, and you have legit 54% chance of winning the game just by that. That's pretty crazy. I think Jhin is super strong, really like good into Ashe, good into everything, to be honest. He doesn't really have any counters, and he provides a ton for the team comp. He doesn't quite have like hyper carry level of damage, and he doesn't have full hyper carry level of like, if your team sucks as Jhin, it can be hard to carry. But if you have one fed member on your team and you're fed as well as Jhin, usually it's a free win. But if your whole team sucks, it can be a lot harder to carry than something like Zeri or Jinx, where you can actually have enough damage to kill all 5 members on enemy team. But on the flip side, it's a lot easier to get fed as Jhin because your laning phase is really strong. You can set up CC for ganks. You can execute people with your ultimate. You have a lot more tools than other champions have to get themselves ahead. So it's easier to get ahead, but harder to carry while ahead or like be fully 1v9. Then we have Caitlyn, just B tier. She's fine. She's fine, but don't like, I think she's okay into MF. I kind of liked it into MF. Overall, just B tier. Nothing special. Nothing special. Like, I've tried a few builds on her. I tried the static build on her and it felt okay, but it was like whatever. Tried IE Rush and it's okay, but I don't know. I don't know. She's good with mage supports and good with poke, but she's just okay. She's just okay. So we got Sivir, big C tier. Big C tier. She's not pretty strong. She's pretty weak. But is she B tier? That's the question. Is she C or B tier? She might be B tier, to be honest. I mean, she can just like farm waves and scale pretty well. I feel like when I think of a C tier champ, I think of a champion that's probably worse than Sivir. I think B tier, yeah. I think B tier, to be honest. I think B tier. And then we got Nilah. Nilah's pretty weak, I think. Nilah's pretty weak. Would I say she's C tier or B tier? Like, they nerfed Nilah and took a lot of her damage away from her and gave her some attack speed, but she doesn't really synergize very well with attack speed. And this champion it's kind of like a failed ADC, I feel like. There's very few ADCs that are failed, but this champion just isn't played. I'm pretty sure it has the lowest pick rate out of ADCs. Like, out of actual marksmen, I'm pretty sure it's the lowest. Okay, Senna's the lowest, but Senna kind of doesn't count because she's like a support. But then out of actual ADCs, Nilah and Tristana, but Tristana's a mid laner, also kind of doesn't count. Corki's also a mid laner. Out of actual ADCs, she has the lowest pick rate, but her win rate is actually a lot better than I expected. Her win rate used to be pretty bad. Now her win rate's looking pretty good. Like, if we go back a few patches ago, actually her win rate has just like slowly climbed or what? It kind of has. I guess she's okay. People are actually winning on her. Like, I don't like Collector. I don't like Collector as an item. I don't buy Collector on like any champion. But I guess like it is the meta on Nilah. Yeah, I'll put her B tier then. I'll put her B tier. She doesn't have crazy bad win rate. And she looks, she's still like a situationally strong ADC, a bit like Sivir, a bit like Xayah. If you're against a lot of like a really heavy auto-attacking team comp, she's pretty good. Which I guess actually kind of makes her better in this meta. She was always good into multiple ADC comps. And in this meta, a lot of people are playing ADCs mid, even people are playing ADCs top. I can definitely see why her win rate has slowly risen as the meta's kind of changed. And then we have Vayne. Now, Vayne might be C tier. Vayne might actually be C tier. Because she's just way better in top lane. I think Vayne is probably C tier. I think Vayne's probably C tier, honestly. Sure, win rate's a bit better in bot lane than top lane. That's kind of strange when her matchups are so much better top lane. I think C tier. She just has shitty matchups. I think in bot lane, you kind of have to go static. I guess you can also go Kraken in bot lane, but your wave clear is just so bad, bro. Like, out of all of these champions on this whole list, I think there's no champ with worse wave clear than Vayne. She just has so bad wave clear. And for bot lane, for a role that's all about farming, it feels pretty bad to play a champion that takes 10 years to farm. You know, if your goal is to get 12 CS per minute, if you show me any OP GG that has 10 CS per minute on Vayne, bro, I would be mind blown. I would be mind blown. I don't think I've ever seen that in my whole life. I've seen 10 CS per minute on Zeri, on Jinx, even on Kalista, even on like Draven, I think. I mean, I haven't seen it on Draven, I think. But I've seen it on a lot of champs. But if you could do that shit on Vayne, bro, you'd be a magician. So that's why I'm putting her C tier. Then we got Aphelios. He got some buffs a few patches ago. That shit was like placebo, bro. That shit was like placebo. Straight to B tier. Straight to B tier. Still, I'm pretty sure he has some of the lowest win rates in the game on the ADC role. He is definitely down there, yeah. So you could either pick Cho'Gath ADC, or you could pick Tristana, that was specifically nerfed for mid lane, or you could pick Aphelios. They all seem to win at the same amount. You might say I'm biased. Why am I not putting then Aphelios B tier instead of C tier? But I would never put my Aphelios C tier. That's just not acceptable. I love Aphelios, and he's my boy, so he gets B tier at least, you know, a consolation prize. But people are talking about that they're gonna like mini rework Aphelios, so maybe with that there will be some good stuff coming. We'll see. I need to see like what they do. I think, to be honest, the biggest problem the champion faces is just mobility. That champion is a turtle. He has no mobility. In a meta, not even a meta, in a game, you have made every champion so fast, bro. Every champion. Ashe is super fast. Jhin, super fast. Xayah, super fast. Zeri, super fast. MF, super fast. Every single champion that's being played in every role either has a shit ton of mobility or they have 5,000 movement speed. And here you are walking as Aphelios with your 325 base movement speed, and your only movement speed steroid is a fucking red Q that lasts for half a second and gives you 10 movement speed. That's not enough these days, bro. That's not enough these days. I think that would be good, because I think if you try to buff his damage, he's just going to come back in pro play again. But if you buff his mobility, I think that can make him just overall better in solo queue. I think the reason why he's always had such a bad win rate in solo queue is because he has so bad mobility and so little like bad self peel. If you give a champion a bit more move speed, that automatically gives them better self peel, because that means they can actually run away from the scary champions that are trying to kill them, and that means that they have more agency themselves to do things. So either buff his base movement speed, give him some mobility. That's what I would do if I was head of Riot Games, Mr. Freak himself. And maybe if he becomes OP, then you can nerf something else, and you end up with a champion that's more balanced and more fun to play. And then we got Senna, and I think Senna might be our sole GG tier. This is accounting for the changes next patch, where they are removing pretty much all of the reasons why you'd ever want to play Senna ADC, as you now get less attack speed per level, you get less crit per 20 stacks, your Q healing doesn't scale with lethality anymore, and it scales with, no, it does scale with more AD, but it doesn't scale with lethality anymore. Your Q slow scales with more AD, and your ult shield, I mean, they're giving her a lot of AP ratios, but trying to nerf the AD lethality build on Senna, which was kind of, I guess, the only reason why you would play Senna, because if you wanted to play, I mean, if you wanted to build AP, probably you wouldn't play Senna ADC. But I do think Senna support is looking a lot better, so maybe now when I have Senna support, I won't want to CBT myself for the whole duration of the game, and maybe only the first 5 minutes when she's still as squishy as a cannon minion. Overall, the changes look pretty good, and I think it's the right step for Senna. The one thing that I would also consider changing about Senna is giving her some more base health, giving her some more base armor. Just to make her a little bit more durable, because I think the biggest problem I have personally with playing with Senna is you have two champions that are both extremely squishy. So if you play into something like Pyke, if you play into something like Nautilus, it's just every hook is a kill, kind of. Every hook is a kill, and that's not very fun to play. Then we got Lucian. So Lucian is also being changed next patch, but he's kind of getting buffed in bot lane next patch. I mean, that's their goal as well. They're nerfing his Q damage by 10, but buffing his passive total AD ratio by 0.5. And that might bring back everybody's favorite combo, Lucian Nami. Hopefully it doesn't, but it unironically could, because that is a pretty big buff to their damage. But I'm going to put him in B tier, a cautionary B tier. I don't think he's going to be crazy in bot lane, but he's definitely going to be better bot lane than last patch. But also a lot of his items that he would have liked, like probably if he were to come back to bot lane, he'd still go the Bork build. But Bork is actually getting nerfed, so maybe it ends up being not that big of a positive change for him after all. We'll have to see how the changes pan out, but that's my theory. Corki. So Corki's also getting nerfed next patch, mostly because of mid lane, and I do believe that just makes him kind of a shit ADC. And there's kind of like, why would you play Corki bot when you could just play it mid lane? It's kind of strange. I mean, everything about Corki is kind of strange. They reworked him to make him a lane bully bot lane, and then he was too strong of a lane bully bot lane. So they removed everything that made him a lane bully bot lane and made him just into a Q max scaling champ. So people obviously just started playing him on mid lane. And now they're just nerfing him on mid lane, and they don't care about having him in bot lane. So it seems like a bit of a failed experiment where they wanted to... It's like, why did we even rework Corki? You know what I mean? We now just have a Corki that's kind of the same champ, just it does only physical damage and it doesn't have package, and it has better early game. It's a bit strange. It's a bit strange. I feel like they didn't quite hit the mark with what they were trying to do with Corki, and overall just ended up being kind of a weird result. And then we got Samira. Where do I put you? Where do I place you? I think you're pretty trash. I don't think you're very good. But I don't think you're terrible. I don't think you fall into the Vayne category. I think you fall into B tier. I think you fall into the B tier. The thing with Samira is you need a lot of things. Okay, so here's what you need. You need to play versus low amount of CC, because if you place Samira into something like Poppy, it's over. And if you play Samira with something like Lulu, it's also over. That's just over. Samira Sona, Samira Soraka, Samira, I don't care what you name it, Samira without CC. That's just GG. So you need to play Samira, you need to have a CC support that can set you up, preferably Rel. Rel is by far the best, but if you can't have Rel, then Nautilus is fine too, Alistar is fine too, all that stuff can work as well. And then you also need that the enemy team is pretty squishy and it's pretty low CC. Kind of similar to Xayah, to be honest. If it's a really good Samira game, Champion's not bad. I still wouldn't say it's as good as Xayah, even if it's a really good Samira, like, you know, because I feel like Xayah is more 1v9. It relies less on enemy making mistakes. It just, you become so strong and they still have to come into you and you just kite them. But with Samira, you kind of still need to snowball, even if it's a good Samira game. And then we got MF. So I don't know if you guys have noticed recently, but I was on a bit of an MF spamming streak. I think this champion is so OP, so OP. I'm gonna have to put her right here, Z tier. This champion has no losing matchups. I mean, actually it does have one losing matchup. It does have one losing matchup. I lied. The one losing matchup is Draven. And this matchup has actually gotten worse for MF than it was before. Because before, this champion was pretty good into MF, good into Draven, because she could poke him down. But now they both rush Bloodthirster. But Draven is stronger in the all-in. So it's just a good matchup now for Draven. So probably if you were to spam MF, just ban Draven. I would ban Draven or Ezreal, because those are the most annoying. MF is so strong, just rush BT, go Essence River, go Infinity Edge, go Mortal Reminder, and one-shot some noobs. And you get some good ultis. Perma push. You need to get push on this champ. If you don't get push on this champ, you can't lane bully. Getting push on this champ is really important so you can hit enemy champs with your Q and you have wave control and you can just slow push and just poke them perma with your Q and you're so OP. But overall, this champion is just so much damage. She's so fast on the map so you can farm everything. You have so much attack speed from your W, and your ulti is just such a game-winning tool. It's such a game-winning tool. If you have like a Rel, if you have an Aurora, if you have, I don't know, any champion that like CCs them for you and you hold your ulti for that and they get a good CC, it's just instantly GG. It's just so strong. And you can just turn the tides of so many games. It's really good champ. Then we got Tristana. Very similar case to Corki in that they kind of, maybe even GG tier, honestly. GG tier, maybe GG tier. They nerfed her a lot for mid lane, but she already wasn't that strong on bot lane. So now you just have a champion that's really bad. Similar to Corki. I don't know if it's GG tier. I think it might be GG tier. She does have really, I think D tier. I think D tier. Her winner is really bad on bot lane. And then we got Kog'Maw. I think A tier. But actually with the Blade of the Ruin King nerf, I think still A tier. Pretty good champ, to be honest. Kind of underrated. Like, good into a lot of the Warmog's rushers, because a lot of people still play Warmog champs. So if they have a lot of tanks, I think Kog'Maw's really good. If they don't have a lot of tanks, Kog'Maw's not that good. You also ideally want Braum, Lulu, or Milio. But even without that, I think Kog'Maw can still be fine. I think A tier. Then Jinx. I'm tempted to put Jinx in S tier just because she still has such a good win rate in solo queue. I think A tier. I actually don't think Jinx is that good right now. Like, she's not, I mean, when I say that, I mean, she used to be insane and I would pick her every game. But I don't feel that way anymore. I think she's just like pretty good. She doesn't work the best with a lot of the AP genres that are being played, and she doesn't have the best matchup into stuff like MF, into stuff like Ashe, into stuff like Jhin. It's very far in between games where I really feel like Jinx is the best pick here and I want to go Jinx. You know what I mean? It's rare that I feel like this is a really good Jinx game. And then we have Zeri. Now do I want to put Zeri S or high A tier? That's the question. Because for me, I feel like Zeri maybe falls here, but I feel like maybe she also falls here, you know, low S tier alongside Kai'Sa. And Kai'Sa and Zeri being together is like the classic, right? But I think Kai'Sa is a bit stronger than Zeri, and win rates also suggest the same. But I do feel like she's closer to S tier than A tier, because I do think she's really good. She's one of my go-to like blind pick ADCs when I just want to scale, you know? I do think she's really good. I like her a lot. And then we got Varus. So Varus actually recently got pretty big buffs last patch. He now gets a lot more attack speed when he gets kills and minion kills. And His base AD got buffed as well, but I still don't think he's that good. I think he still falls into B tier. I think before he would have been C tier, because after the changes they kind of butchered him a bit. But now I think B tier is pretty accurate for him. B tier is pretty accurate. And then we got Ezreal, I think A tier. A tier, alongside a little bit lower than Jinx, but higher than Kog'Maw. I think the nerf definitely hit him, and it definitely impacts him. He lost win rate from it. It's important to remember that when he got buffed, he also got 2 other buffs that are still in the game, you know? Because he got 3 buffs. The 3 buffs that he got was his Q dealing 10% more damage, like had 10% more AD ratio, and his AD per level increased, and his ult does more damage per rank. He still has the more damage ult per rank, and he still has the AD per level. So he is still in a stronger, healthier state than he was before. But I don't think he can quite compete with the S or Z tier champs. But he's a good champ. Good champ. And then we got Smolder. So I have been a bit of a Smolder hater for the last few months, to be honest, ever since they kind of butchered him. But over the past few patches, they have slowly buffed him up to being quite a good champ. He has now a pretty good laning phase, which means that a lot of the matchups before that used to be you just had to sit on your tower and do nothing, I think are actually pretty good now. And I would even dare to say kind of a lane bully. Fully a lane bully, but he actually has a pretty good laning phase. He has a pretty good laning phase. So I feel comfortable putting him in A tier alongside Jinx, Ezreal, and Jinx and Ezreal. I feel like now he's just overall a really solid champ that has a lot of good matchups. I think he's like fine into Xayah. He's fine and he's good into Zeri. I really like it into Zeri, to be honest. He's fine into Jhin. Into Ashe, that one's pretty rough. She can just run you down. Into MF, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I'm still happy as the MF. Into Jinx, it's also okay. Like a lot of matchups that are just like, you know, you don't feel super happy, but you also don't feel super sad either, you know? It's just like, it's okay. It's okay. Which before definitely wasn't the case. And most of the matchups Smolder had, it was just, that was torture, bruh. That was torture. You were trying to survive. It was like, God help me, God help me. If I make it to 15 more minutes and I get to that 225, the game just shifts as soon as you get to 225. That's not quite how Smolder works anymore. I think like now if you play Smolder, you need to understand that the game, their Nexus doesn't instantly explode anymore once you get 225 stacks. It doesn't. But the compensation that you get is that you're actually a champion before you get to 225 stacks. You are still pretty strong just with Q poke and your overall damage, you know? So while the execute now is pretty much the same as collector and it's more placebo than anything, I swear to God that execute never kills anybody ever. I feel like I have seen people that have 3% HP and I Q them and then the burn still doesn't kill them somehow. And I'm just mind blown. Like how am I not killing them? How? Like the burn clearly looks like it would kill, but it just doesn't kill. It's kind of strange because I think how it works, sometimes it doesn't kill when you think it should kill because the last tick of the burn puts them below the execute threshold, but you need it to be the second to last tick of the burn to actually execute them because of just how it's coded. It's kind of strange. I think that's how it works at least. Because it seems like a lot of cases where the burn never kills. I feel like the burn very rarely kills. Last champion, 14.15 tier list, and kind of 14.16 tier list as well, to be honest. Just overall, the current ADC meta is Kalista. And yeah, Kalista's actually getting nerfed next patch because of Blade of the Ruined King nerf, which I think she still has to rush. I don't think she has any other item than Blade of the Ruined King. I don't think she has any other options. So I think she might fall into, she could even fall into the GG tier, to be honest. I think Kalista just sucks ass. Just sucks ass. Like if there's one champ, probably the hardest champion to win on in solo queue is Kalista. Probably. I think it's probably even easier to win on Tristana and Corki in solo queue than Kalista, because at least when you play Tristana and Corki, you can farm. You can farm and scale. But if you play Kalista and you try to farm and scale, buddy, I got bad news for you. I got bad news for you. You got a lot of problems and not a whole lot of solutions. But scaling, that's not one of them. That's not one of those solutions. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. If you're a Kalista main right now, I feel ya. I feel ya. Because it's definitely not easy to climb on. It's definitely not easy to play. But yeah, that's gonna be about do it. My ADC tier list for patch 14.15 and patch 14.16. But overall, there's not many things changing for next patch, and maybe there won't be many things changing for the next patch after that either. So hopefully this tier list will serve its purpose for the next few patches, and then we'll do one of these check-ins again at a later date. Once I feel like the ADC meta has changed sufficiently for me to really make a proper update on what ADCs I believe you guys should be playing and spamming to get that elo that you deserve. But at the end of the day, I always like to emphasize this, and I always say that the most important thing for climbing is not playing the best champions. It's playing the champions that you enjoy the most. Because if you enjoy the champion, that means that you'll play better. That also means that you'll enjoy the game more, so that you have an easier time improving. Because for me, it's from personal, I always learn way faster when I enjoy what I'm doing. So if you hate MF, you absolutely don't like it, it's so boring to you, don't play 30 games from MF just because I put it C tier, you know? Play Jhin if you like that. Play Smolder if you like that. Every champion, apart from maybe Tristana, Corki, and Kalista, are pretty good to climb on. They're pretty good to climb on. So if you enjoy those champions, go ahead, spam those. You know, just avoid those, like the ones below C tier. I think the ones below C tier, those are no-goes. I'm sorry if you're Tristana, Corki, or Kalista, or Senna main. But those champs, oof, Papa Freak did you dirty. That's gonna about do it. That's gonna about do it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys get that elo you deserve.